Hi, folks. Thanks for joining. My name is Whaley. I'm the co-founder of Teal. With me, I have my partner in crime, Reid Johnston. He's a co-founder and our CIO and the expert on all things Microsoft. As usual, every month we do a Microsoft tips and tricks. We promise to keep it to 20 minutes or less. We've been doing this for a year, maybe longer. I'd say we hit a lot of cool things that we've done already, and then we sort of introduce new things. So as we're going through here, if anybody has any questions, especially right now, if there's something you want us to hit, let us know through the Q&A section. Caden and Brittany are in the background; they'll let us know. But as we wait for questions to come in, Reid, let's talk about this great idea that you had in the last week or two that you're using. If you could share your screen, or Brittany, if you could share Reid's screen,
I
and
will share.
inbox
Yeah.
rules for unsubscribe.
Yep. Give it a second here. There we go. See my screen. So I get a ton of email. You get a ton of email. Everybody gets a ton of email. And we have to filter through it. A lot of it is newsletters and announcements and a lot of salesy stuff that seems to make its way into our inbox that spam filters don't catch because they're legitimate emails. You know, it's not malware and viruses. It's legitimate emails. It's sales outreach. So the tip that we want to share first is creating a message rule that sort of filters out that noise. And here I'm in Outlook Web Access, outlook.office365.com. I go into my settings and we've got different options here. I'm going to go into rules. And I want to talk about a rule that I created called unsubscribe messages. So
This is not built in, Reid. You had to manually create this, correct?
Yep, had to create this. And I have a bunch of rules, as you can see, for a bunch of different stuff. But so we would add a new rule, and we can give it a name, unsubscribe. And there's all these different conditions that you can select. You know, messages where I'm on the to line, certain subjects, high priority, sensitivity. And if you think about your workflow during the day and the types of emails that you receive, you could create rules for certain types of emails, maybe emails related to a project, maybe emails from certain groups of people. But what I want to talk about today is messages that have that magic unsubscribe link in them. You know, any newsletter or any sales email that you get, to follow anti-spam laws here in the US, they've got to have an unsubscribe link at the bottom. So we can create a message rule to look for that word in the message. And then when it sees that word, I can move those messages to a subfolder in my Outlook to get them out of my inbox, and I can look at them later. So I created a folder called unsubscribe. And then you'd want to save this rule. You could run it on your inbox. I'm not going to do that right now because I have way too many emails in my inbox. But you could add another exception or another condition and say, I really only want this to happen for messages that I've received after maybe a month ago, because I don't want to go back to the beginning of time. We all have a bunch of email in our inboxes. So maybe we start with any message received after April 1st that has unsubscribe in the message body, move it to the unsubscribe folder. And then I could run that now. So I'm not going to do that right now, but I'm going to show you the output of that. I've got an unsubscribe folder here. This message, or this folder, has 1,200 items in it. So just in my inbox, from the beginning of April, I had 1,200 messages that are newsletters, sales stuff, and other stuff that was clogging up my inbox. So now with this rule turned on, it's 10 a.m. Central. I just got another email. And this is a kind of a sales email, but at the bottom, it's got that unsubscribe link. That's why it landed in this folder. instead of my inbox. Huge time saver.
Couple questions, Reid. Elvis pointed out that he loves this as well for the same reason I did, which spurred my thinking on this. So um, you just said you got one because you're in Central and it's 10. So that actually even show up in your inbox?
Didn't even show up because the rule processed it as it was coming in and it moved it immediately.
So that means so two follow-on questions that Elvis spurred in my mind is if I'm on my mobile and I'm driving,
There's another one.
that won't show up on my mobile because I'm only looking at my inbox. Correct?
But on your mobile, you could go into your folders and find that unsubscribe folder. But you're right, it wouldn't show up in your inbox because it would process it in the background before you even looked at your phone.
Now, here's something that when I'm looking at my inbox, because I'm going to implement this almost immediately after this call, I think it's a fantastic idea, except for this. I do have an email in my inbox that has the word unsubscribe, and it's actually something that I would want to see. Specifically, it's an email from Clutch, who we do some who does some analysis of our web page. So, like, is there anything you could think of to sort of help with that? Or do I just have to randomly, once a day go through my unsubscribed emails to make sure they're.
So that's where I'm back in my settings. I'm back in this rule that I created. That's where you add an exception.
Okay.
So I add an exception and I could say, there's all sorts of options, right? So you'd look for maybe
from, yep.
From,
in this case.
Yeah. And then that address or that domain. So then it won't run this rule for Clutch, for example. The other one that came to mind for me that is, I think, important is you might forward me something that you think is interesting for me to see.
Oh, that's a good, because we do that to each other.
That has an unsubscribe link in it. And maybe I want to see that right away. So that exception would be subject includes FW, because whenever you forward an email, Outlook puts an FW in front.
Yeah, that's interesting. I might not have done it that way. I might have done it except it puts you as an exception. I want to see all your emails, Reid.
Sure, yeah. Or maybe someone's replying to an email and adding you as a CC. So you could add another filter for, I could say RE, right? Reply. So you can play with that a little bit, but this is awesome. And even during this call, look at this. I've got 10 a.m., 10:06, 10:08, 3 emails filtered out of my inbox. Now I have to remember to go in here, right? I might check this folder once a day, once every other day, because some legitimate stuff will go in here. But it saves some of the brain power during the day.
That's fantastic. I'm going to implement this, as I said, right after this call. But let's move on to the next one. And the next one is something that I don't know that we invented it, but we use it frequently. I know you use it with more than one person, and you and I certainly use it together. And that is building a team in teams of 2, rather than just chatting Gar and Reid in a chat, building a team for us to chat in. How do we do that, and why would we do that?
Yep. So in Teams, I can create a message to an individual, right? So I can send a message to Gar. When I do that, it's going to start this lengthy thread. Here we are. And here we're talking about this webinar today, but it's got a huge length of all sorts of different topics, and all of those topics can get lost and confusing because we're talking about lots of different things in a lengthy chat thread. So you want to create a team of 2. And the reason you do that is in your team, you can have different threads about different topics. So this is a team that I created called Focus and Sidetrack that only Gar and I are members of. And every time I start a new topic, it creates a new thread that we can chat about. So instead of one long stream of communication, we have different threads of communication. It helps keep things more organized and easier to track.
So, for
So
example, if I were
yeah,
to ask you, hey, Reid, remember what I wrote you about the CMMC Cyber AB call the other night?
yep,
It's right there.
yeah, right here. What are you asking? How
No,
would I?
that just that you'd be able to find it.
Yep, yeah, I'd easily be able to find it, and then I could reply to that thread. And once my Teams updates here, it'll actually move that thread to the top of my screen because that's the way I have my settings configured. The benefit to that is each conversation that you have, whenever it gets updated, it's moving it to the top. So if I go back to this team that Gar and I are part of, I can easily see, well, what were the most recent conversation topics we were discussing? And I can keep scrolling through all of the other conversation topics that we've had over time. So this is really useful. And
Yeah,
the
we
way that you
use it all.
do, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
we use it all the time. Yeah. So the
If
way
we're
that you,
just chit chatting, we use a normal chit chat, a normal message, just like you would with a text message. But if we're going to talk about something that's going to be ongoing, that we know we're going to be working on over time,
yep,
then we'll move it to the two-man team, and we'll make sure each conversation has a heading so we can find it quickly.
yep. And creating this team is easy. I go up to my my top button here, new message. I can create a new team. I get a pop-up here, and I can call it Reid and Gar Sales Ideas. Specifically, maybe we want to have a team just about that. But then I can create a channel called Ideas. Now, I would want this team to be private because I don't want everybody in the organization to be able to join it on their own. So I'll set it as private, hit create. Takes a second, of course. Thanks.
Nice work.
Yeah. So
So
now if I,
if you were on our call last week or last month, or you watched the review of our call last month, where we talked about setting up teams within teams, the whole 20 minutes was on that. We
yeah,
didn't talk about this specific business requirement.
yep. But now I created the team. I found it. It's at the very bottom of my list. So now I'm going to add Gar to it. So I type his name, add. So now I can create new chat threads, tips and tricks, May. Now we have a thread in this team just about this topic, and Gar will eventually find it and then be able to reply to it. But this is really, really helpful to keep things organized. Really, really helpful. So you can see I've got one-on-one teams with William and then others throughout our organization. So very useful, very useful.
I'm not sure everyone caught up on the little dig you just put on me there about I will eventually find it, but I found it pretty quick. Um, so let's move on to that. Reid, we're about
Sure.
14 minutes in, about 6 minutes left. A couple more things that we thought would be interesting today, one of which was the meeting recap.
Yeah,
Uh, so far, nothing we've showed requires Copilot. The meeting
right.
recap, is this a Copilot feature or can anybody use this?
So meeting recap is a Teams premium feature. So to view the meeting recap where you get a summary of the meeting, an AI summary is a Teams premium feature. If you have a meeting recording, you can view a recap just with a copy of the transcription and that's it. So everybody can do that. But if you have a Teams premium license or you have Copilot, you can get a summary of the meeting. So here we've got who spoke during the meeting, what were some of the topics that we talked about, files that might have been shared. That's the AI summary. The part that I want to highlight, though, is Microsoft recently added a share button. So if I hit share, I can copy the link to this meeting recap, and I could send it to someone in a message, or I could send an email. And that's really useful to allow someone to jump right to this meeting recap without needing to find where that meeting was in my calendar and where it was in my chat. The other thing that's in here is share to Outlook. If you click share to Outlook, it will take all of the meeting notes and compose a new email message, automatically copying all of these meeting notes and all of the follow-up tasks. Again, this part requires Teams Premium or Copilot to get the meeting summary. But Gar, I know you like to hit copy all right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go into your email and you paste it. Well, alternatively, you can just hit share to Outlook and it'll do all of that for you. Copies all of it for you. Now, I'm not going to do that with this particular meeting because there's some sensitive stuff in the meeting content, but it would open up a new email message. All that summary and tasks would be in there, and then I just have to address who I'm sending it to. So really helpful.
Reid, I have a question, but before I get to my question, don't change the screen.
Yep.
Carolyn is asking a question which I don't understand. I'll just read it aloud to you. Do you have to create those messages within Teams, or can you create them in Outlook and it will show up in Teams?
I think you might be talking about maybe the notes, the meeting notes. Maybe you can clarify in your chat. The meeting notes automatically are generated if the meeting is recorded and you have Teams Premium or you have Copilot.
Maybe Carolyn can clarify if that answered her question. But while we wait for that, and this is probably the last one we're going to be able to get to, I have a question on this. So when you share to copy link, is that sharing? And maybe I wasn't clear. That's sharing this whole page right here, or is it just sharing the notes of this page?
Yeah, the copy link is a shortcut to this screen. So any recipient, they have to be inside your organization. You can't share a meeting recap screen with someone outside of your organization. You want to
So,
share.
for example, the steps
Yeah.
I would take
Mm-hmm.
when I wanted to share, let's say a call, like if I wanted to share this call, I would open up in Stream and then share it with Brittany, Caden, others, um, so that they could see the actual call. But you're saying in this case, you could shorten that by one step. You don't have to open it in Stream. You can go right to the share and copy the link, and they're going to get this page.
Yep.
And if they have rights to that meeting, they're going to be able to review the meeting.
Yeah, that's a good point. They have to have rights to the meeting. So they have to be either a participant of the meeting or they have to be on the original invite list.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So maybe that's why I'm going to Stream to do it, because I actually have to share it. And we
Yep.
might be getting into too many details here, but the point being that if they are in the meeting or they have permissions to the meeting, you send them the link, they can click on the link, they're going to get to this page and they can watch the meeting.
Yep, they can watch it, they can see who spoke, what the topics were, chapters, and then if they have a Teams Premium license, they'll be able to see the meeting notes, and at the very bottom, they'll see follow-up tasks as well.
We record now at Teal almost all of our meetings,
Yep.
and share these out in different ways, but this is the way we're probably going to do it now, because Reid shared this on this call. Reid, we had a couple more to get to, but we'll have to put them off till next week because we're out of time. Anything else that you wanted to share, in a minute on this topic?
The only point I guess I'd like to make is recording your meetings and benefiting from the AI summary is awesome. So we're talking to our clients. If you have business premium licenses or you have business standard licenses, we're recommending that they add Teams Premium. Because if you add Teams Premium, you get this AI summary. It's not expensive. Copilot is more expensive, and there's a lot more involved in getting Copilot set up, and we can help you with that. But to get the benefit of the summary and the tasks, it's a minimal investment per user, and it's a great thing for people that hold a lot of meetings. You're the organizer of a lot of meetings. I'm the organizer of a lot of meetings. We record our meetings. That's our standard practice, and it really helps keep everyone on the same page.
Fantastic. Folks, we're out of time. Thanks for joining us this week. All of this information our marketing team puts on our website and will be sent to you if you sign up for the webinar today. It'll be forwarded to you. If we can be of any benefit, please reach out to Reid or myself. Also, Brittany can be reached at info@tealtech.com. We'll see you next month. And we already have some things to kick off for next month, right, Reid? So we get them all to them today.
That's right. Great. Have a great day.
Thanks, Reid. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye-bye.